Welcome to the ACS Podcast family.
We're your hosts, Angie and Charlene.
Where every week you can find new material centered around your life.
Thanks for joining us on our journey. Welcome to episode 6. We are on week 2 of self-care. So last week we talked a lot about spiritual care, and this week we're talking about physical self-care. So physical self-care, right? I mean, why is that so important?
It's important because when we don't take care of ourselves physically, our bodies can break down and we can physically relieve stress that we're holding inside of us. And that stress can cause all kinds of medical problems. Not only that, but if you have kids that you're trying to keep up with and you're tired and you're run down and you're not physically able to keep up with them, or if you're not keeping up on your physical self-care, nobody else can do that for you. That's all something that you have to do for yourself. And if you're not keeping up on that and you're not feeling good, you're not going to be able to live your best life.
Right. So I always make fun of myself because I like to say it's like having an ingrown toenail. Nobody sees your toenails. Nobody knows that it's there. And if you don't take care of it, you're going to end up missing a toe shortly because it's just going to fester. It's like if you're not taking care of yourself, what is going on? And that part of you that's depleted is never going to wake back up. It's going to just keep getting lower and lower. And like you say, you can't pour from an empty cup, but like you can't pour if there's no cup.
Right. If there's no cup to pour from, that's exactly true. So this week we really want to dive in and talk about what physical self-care looks like, because everyone is different and everyone's approach to self-care in all of these various areas that we're talking about over the month is going to be different. As everybody's approach to physical self-care is different, let's talk about different things that we can do to take care of ourselves, and then maybe different ways that we can get into some of those habits if we don't already have them or already possess them.
I think for me, the biggest life-changing self-care, physical self-care, was having a sleep routine. Because I am a natural creative, which means that, like most of us, my energy doesn't hit until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I want to stay up to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning trying to work on all of these amazing ideas and projects that I have, or I'm taking care of a child that still wakes up and going to bed. Now I'm like, oh, that's what that's like to feel like this in the morning. I can actually wake up and get out of bed in the morning instead of like peeling myself out of bed. And that sleep, regulating that sleep and having a regular sleep routine and adding in some oils, but that's a whole nother story to talk about. I can get out of bed without being in pain because I was not sleeping so well that my back was hurting, my head was hurting, my shoulders were hurting, like everything about me. I was like piece of paper, like all crinkly, like I sat up and I was like snap, crackle, pop all the way through, and sleeping now has really just changed a lot of that.
So how long have you had your regular sleep routine?
It has been probably about 3 years now. And It's not really regular, if I'm being honest. Sometimes I find a show on TV and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to binge watch this for the night. But then I'm making up for the next day. My next day is, I know that I've got a quiet day and I'm going to be able to just relax, not go full force, I guess.
Right. I totally get that. I actually still sometimes don't have a regular sleep routine. Now, Damon, on the other hand, has a very regular sleep routine. And I look at it, he goes to sleep fairly early and he gets up fairly early, which is great because then he is on this regular routine. And it has helped me get into more of a routine, but it has been a learned behavior. And if I'm being honest, I look at what time he goes to bed in the summertime and I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's still light outside. I can't go to bed.
It's still light out for hours.
But then he gets up early in the morning and it's early enough to watch the sunrise, So that's really nice that you're getting your full allotted sleep that you need. And something else that we have incorporated into our sleep routine is to shut all electronics off a half an hour before bed.
Yes.
Find that it improves the quality of sleep. So even if you're not able to get that full 8 hours, or if you're somebody that only needs 6, because some of you are privileged enough to be those people,
Right.
I am not.
I'm not.
If you are shutting your electronics off a half an hour before bed, your brain has a chance to unwind. And as we talked about last week with the spiritual self-care, sometimes that's a good time for meditation. It's a good time for reflection. It's a good time to just calm down and let your body get ready for the sleep that you need so that you can feel well rested, so that you can have the most productive day possible the next day, and that you can move through and move towards those things that you want for yourself.
And that even comes for our tiny humans or in parenting. I, for example, will just use 2 of my kids. So my daughter, Reagan, she is a night owl. She does her homework at night. She is that creative brain. She's just going and going. So in the morning times, she'll sleep because we homeschool until like 9, 10 o'clock, but she's still getting her hours in that she knows her body needs. Now my son is the exact opposite. And of course, he's younger. So he's only 13. And his prime time, like he is that person who wants to get up before the sun comes up, and he wants to that's his time to get his work done and where his, I guess, creative genius time is, they call it. And he struggles because he wants to be up late with his sister and he wants to do what she's doing. And then he's, my eyes are bleeding. I can't stay awake anymore. I want to cry. But then he still naturally wakes up in the morning. So we just actually had this talk last night of like, you have to find your spot where your sleep routine is good for you. If you want to stay up late, then you're going to have to sleep in the morning. You can't bounce out of bed before the sun. And if you want to get up early in the morning, then you might have to go to sleep before the sun goes down in the summertime. But I loved what you said about turning off the electronics a half an hour. So I have an app on all of my kids' phones called Google Family Link, and I control when and what their phone does. So I have it set for an hour before bedtime. Their phone shuts down. And the only thing they can do is call emergency numbers, which, mom, dad, and 911. So that's all that they can do. They can't get on Facebook or Instagram or anything. And it actually is like this nice blue screen and it says, it's time for bed.
Oh, I love that.
So they didn't like it at first, but turning your mind off, if you need to turn it off, don't look at an electronic, read a book, meditate.
Social media can be so detrimental to our mental state, and filling our brains with that right before we go to sleep, and filling our brains with seeing what everybody else is complaining about, or all the complaints of the day, or vice versa, everybody who you're jealous of, and they have the perfect
life.
Exactly, they have that perfect life, picture
Yes.
perfect life, and then you're feeling like you don't measure up. Neither one of those are good ways to go to bed. Shutting off that social media, getting away from that, shutting off the electronics, and just being able to reflect on your day and think back to it. Another good practice is, okay, what was on my to-be list today? Not even my to-do list, but who did I want to show up as in the world? And did I accomplish that? Where could I have done better? Where did I do really well? If you reflect on that and you're really paying attention to how you're acting, what you're doing, where you're spending your time, what your priorities are, how you're in alignment with your values, is really going to do wonders for that physical self-care, because you're going to be making different choices than you have up until now.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's one way. Having a healthy diet is another way that you can practice physical self-care. And I know for some of this comes much easier than others.
I'm on the others.
Well, practice what we preach, not what we do.
Right? Exactly.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. I think that, okay, so a healthy diet, I would choose a healthy diet if somebody made my food for me. I'm that person who I would love a salad. Okay, my sister makes the best salads ever. I go to her house, I'm going to eat a salad, and it's amazing. And I'm like, oh, she eats salads every single day. And I'll go to the store and I'll buy all that stuff, but I put it together and it does not taste the same. And I don't know what kind of magic love she makes it with that makes me want to eat healthier. But when I'm at home, I'm just going to throw some chicken nuggets on a thing and put it in the oven.
I totally concur with that. I think, Anna tells me all the time, without me, Damon, and Brandy, I don't know how you'd survive, because
Right.
they do most of my cooking and meal prep for me. However, I have gotten into a routine now where on Tuesday nights, we'll sit down and figure out what we're going to eat on Friday.
Oh.
And that way I have time to go to the grocery store. I have time to get it, because Friday nights we almost always cook. That's a time when we do that. Saturday nights for us, we go out with my parents just about every week. And so we'll go out to dinner. So we don't cook on Saturday nights. Friday nights, we always cook. And then on Friday nights, or even on Thursday nights, either Thursday or Friday, we'll sit down and figure out what we want to prep for the week. And on Sundays, we'll do meal prep and make a few meals that will go throughout the week. And that's become a habit probably over, I don't know that it's a full-fledged habit yet, but it's become more routine. The prepping for Friday night we've been doing for a few months now, and it goes really well. And the prepping on Sunday we've been doing for probably a month now, and that's going really well too. And I can see how this is contributing to healthier choices. I'm keeping healthier food in the house. I'm planning and preparing. I don't have nearly as much food waste because that food is being eaten, because I know when I'm going to eat it. I know how much I need. I plan which meals I'm going to eat at home. That's been hugely successful in getting me on track for a healthier diet. So just starting with one meal, like I said, we started with on Tuesday nights because we knew we were cooking on Friday. That was the only thing that was sure throughout the week was Friday night we're going to cook something to eat. So on Tuesday nights, we'd figure out what we wanted so that we had time to go to the store and get ready for that. So on Friday nights, we could cook. So it just starts with that one choice, that one thing, just implementing that one habit. And you can grow and expand from there. It starts with those baby steps.
We had a really couple good years when I was working full-time in property management that we did meal prep every Sunday. And then I made the crock pot meals. And then something that we did is we stopped having leftovers. Right away, they were packaged into lunches and thrown into the freezer. Otherwise, I wasn't eating lunch because I didn't have time to make lunches and those meals. So that was it. And I love that you guys cook on Fridays. You know what we do every Friday? It's like TGI Friday. Do you remember back in the day when you could watch TV? Well, we always had, we either had TV dinners. Do you remember what?
Yes.
Did they call them TV dinners in South Dakota?
Yes.
Okay. So we either had TV dinners or we had pizza. That was like our TGIF. So at our house, we always do pizza on Friday. It is the one day that I do not have to think about it at all.
But isn't it great that you don't have to think about it? Like you just know. Yes. So even if you plan a month ahead of time and you get off schedule. So that's another way to make a baby step, to sit down and plan a month at a time and write down what meals you're going to have. And then when it comes to that day, if something else hasn't come up, but you're going to go home and cook, then you know what's on the menu. You know what you're going to cook, so you don't actually have to think about it.
Right.
But that is what I like about when we plan on Tuesdays for Friday, is that on Friday after work, you don't have to think about it. The stuff is here. We're ready to go. We can just do it. And it takes that stress of trying to figure out what we're going to eat off the table.
You know what else I love? That you do it on Tuesdays for Fridays. Like you're not going, okay, on Sunday because it's the beginning of the week, or on Monday because it's the beginning of the work week. You have just a day and it's for another day. I love that. Then I feel like my brain would turn on and be like, oh, wait, let's do this. It's not the same start, the same day of the week thing.
Well, and a lot of times I think we get to a place where we feel like if we're not consistent or if we don't start at the beginning of the week, then we messed up and we have to wait for a whole week to start again. And so what I like about doing it, like I will always pick those odd days. I've always started my quote unquote New Year's resolutions. I will always start those in the middle of December rather than waiting until January 1st, because that way I have time to practice. And it doesn't feel like I'm getting a fresh start and I'm not just doing the fad thing. Right. So I do like to choose random stuff rather than trying to do the start of the week. Now, I know I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. So I know getting that fresh start helps for a lot of people. But, one of the other things, I read the Girl Wash Your Face book by Rachel Hollis, right?
Oh, yeah.
Diet Coke fiend. Yep, that's me right here. Totally addicted to Diet Coke. Probably drinking 3 of them a day and probably no water, right?
Yeah.
And in her book, she talked about that. So last year in July, it was about this time, I decided I was going to give up Diet Coke. still don't keep Diet Coke in the house. Occasionally when I go out to a restaurant or whatever, I might have one, but I still don't drink Diet Coke on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so for months, probably for 3 months, I kept 2 bottles of Diet Coke on my counter just in case I needed it. Just in case I couldn't do it. Just in case I couldn't manage. But then it was there and I knew it was there, so I didn't have an urge to run to the store and buy it. I didn't have an urge. It was like one of those, I swear to God, I think giving up Diet Coke was probably harder than when I quit smoking when I was 24. Like, I'm not even kidding. So just having it there so that if that urge hit, that I could grab it. So I don't know if that works for everybody, but that's always been something that's worked for me when I've wanted to change a habit or break a habit or do something, is knowing that I could always go back to it. And then that deters me from wanting to because it's right there and it's so easy for me to do it.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't want it, but I know that if there's an emergency, it's there.
Right. So the other thing that I struggled with meal planning was I always felt like I had to be like the Pinterest mom. I had to have a big, huge meal and it didn't work because then I was like overwhelmed with having to have a salad and a vegetable, but not just a vegetable. It had to have like sliced almonds in it. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like I opened a can of frozen vegetables, put them in a pot and put some cheese on it. It had to be fancy. And that was a huge thing when I was like, wait a minute. I could just make sloppy joes and it can be in the crock pot so that when I come home today, we have sloppy joes and we have baby carrots. Let's be real. We had potato chips.
Potato chips go great with sloppy
joes. Baby carrots were in the fridge though.
The baby carrots are a much healthier choice.
Yes.
For those of you listening.
But, and you guys don't call it sloppy joes here either, do you? What do you call it? Barbecue?
I call them barbecues.
You do?
Yeah, but my friend from Iowa calls them taverns.
Yes, and that was the other thing that people call it.
Sometimes I'll call them sloppy joes, but I get told when I call them, well, anyways, it doesn't really matter. But yes, all of those different names, not to go off on a tangent.
Right, everybody calls things different things. I love learning that here. But so just another baby step. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, and then you can work your way up to being, almonds on your green beans.
If you want to. But it never has to go there.
Right.
It really doesn't ever have to go there.
Right.
So
healthy diets, that's the other thing. So making time to eat, stopping your day, taking a lunch break, doing something that is just for you. If you work, they give you a lunch break. Take your lunch break. I say that. But I never took a lunch break.
I did. That was actually one of the things when I was working. It was really kind of a high-stress job. There was a lot of things to do. There was a lot of stuff to get done. I worked a lot of overtime. I put in a lot of hours, but we had a gym on site. And so it was my routine that I had 2 workout partners, and we would stop, and we would go work out for lunch. And then after we were done working out, we would go back to our desk, and we would walk down to the cafeteria together to get our lunch so that we could eat at our desks after we were done. And we did that every day for years.
That's amazing.
And it was probably the best thing that I could have ever done. I had an accountability partner.
Right.
Fantastic. Get an accountability partner. If you don't have one, get one.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're trying to start some of these new routines, because that is super helpful because you don't want to let the other person down. So even when you're not doing it for yourself, eventually you will, but this will help hold you accountable and make sure that you follow through on those new habits that you're trying to start.
And an accountability partner to remember that person doesn't have to be better than you in that. My best accountability partner was somebody who struggled when I was trying to give up Dr. Pepper. She was trying to give up Mountain Dew, and we would text each other like multiple times during the day, like, oh, my head hurts so bad. That's it. I'm going to go get one. And okay, I had one. Okay, that's good. Then we could talk each other down off the ledge. You only had one. That doesn't mean you can have to drink the whole 6-pack now. You can have one. Let's start again right now. Not tomorrow, like you said, but right now. Whereas I used to pick my accountability partner on like, oh, who never drinks soda. That's who I need. But then it was almost like, what do you mean? Just don't drink it. Oh, what do you mean don't drink it?
Right? It's my lifeline. Exactly. Like, I'm mainline Diet Coke. Right. I don't think you understand.
So depending on what you're looking for in that accountability partner, maybe pick somebody who struggles the same as you. So I was the person, okay, you said you went to the gym with your accountability partner. Where I worked in property management, my desk, then an atrium, and then the workout area. And one of the girls on my team worked out every day on her lunch. So I would sit there not eating my lunch because I was working on something or doing something. Maybe I was eating something that a resident dropped off, to be real. Or maybe just another cup of coffee. Watching her run and being all physically fit, and I was like, I gotta do this. And I really didn't have to do that. I could have taken the time. When looking back, I wish that I would have taken the time to go walk around the property at that time or to go work on. She could have been my accountability partner. We could have been running at the same time.
I think that's a fantastic point. Look back. Where were you at 3 years ago? Where were you at 5 years ago? Where were you at in a previous job? Is there something that you made a priority at that time that you wish you hadn't? Mm-hmm. That you look back and say, I could have done something different? And are you making those different choices today? Is that your priority today? If that's what you can look back and say that it was, and you can see where it could have fit into your life back then, it can still fit into your life now. It can still be your priority. Look at that and say, how does that fit into my life now? Because I see now that I could have made it.
Right.
In 5 years, you're going to look back at today and see that you could have made time. You could have made it a priority. You could have done whatever you wanted with it. So
right.
What are you choosing?
Right. What are you choosing? What did you choose today?
Right. I think those are some great self-care examples, but those aren't the only ones, right? Mm-hmm. We go get our hair cut. That's a great example of self-care, personal care. Taking a shower or sitting in the bathtub can be self-care, or getting a massage.
Ugh, no.
Or for some of us that don't like massage, maybe some Reiki treatments.
Right? That's me. I'm some of us.
I don't see how that's possible for somebody to not like a massage, but okay, fine. You have.
I just think I can't see back behind me, and I have I am the person who's afraid of the dark. We have salt lamps. Thank goodness for salt lamps. Because now I have a reason to have on night lights all over my house. And I'm the person who checks behind the shower curtain. I have no idea why. What would I do? Really, what would I do if somebody was behind the curtain and I checked? What would I do? I have no idea, but I have to look. I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm so stereotypical. I think just being aware of what it is and having a plan, though, I think that's a good thing. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm afraid of people coming into my house. So I have 4 dogs. I have 4 loud dogs. What's going to happen? I mean, seriously, if you're going to listen to this podcast and break into my house, you will be licked to death. But hopefully what it does is it deters whoever is trying to break in because they sound vicious. So I was like, I'm the exact opposite of you. You're like, come on in. And I'm like, just try.
I am. I still let people come into my house. I still allow and meet people in my home. Mm-hmm. But I no longer suffer from the affliction that somebody is going to break in at night.
Right.
So
I want to hear a man see it. My house is like a Christmas tree. It's always lit up. We're the weird people on the block where they think you never sleep. You drive down neighborhoods and all the lights are on. It just has a pretty warm salt lamp glow.
That's funny. Okay, so anyways, that's about all we have for today's episode. So we're going to wrap this up. But just know that everyone's approach to self-care and physically taking care of yourself and hygiene and stress management and being able to get a good night's sleep and eat a healthy diet, everybody's approach is going to look a little bit different. And that's okay. But again, let's go back to being intentional.
Absolutely. So if you have a great idea, something that's helped you in your life, leave it in a comment, send us a message, let us know and let us share it with other viewers so that, we all get to a point of just being healthy and happy.
Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to like us, to share this with your friends, and to follow us on social media.
Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.